One of my favorite kids' movies growing up in the 90s was Anastasia. The story, based on truth, though admittedly liberties were taken. See the Talking Bat Bartok. Dude even got his own sequel. Getting back to the original, though, it's the story of these two grifters trying to pass off a young woman that they meet as the missing and presumed dead princess and one of the few surviving of the Romanov family. In the end, it turns out that the girl really is the lost princess after all. If you enjoyed that movie like me and want to know just how many liberties were taken as far as the true story, Queen Coke Francis has a fun video reviewing the movie and talking history. Check it out. In the meantime, we have the story of another set of men who look a little too much like the ones from that movie, trying to pass off a young girl as the heiress to a Spanish land grant, which is systematically claiming land lived on by homesteaders and evicting them by any means necessary. Right off the bat in the cold open of the episode, a group of men ride up on a man and his wife who's carrying their unborn child. One of the riders tells the audience that the couple had been previously served an eviction notice and they refused to leave. The pregnant lady gets a good shove onto the ground, and when her husband fights back, he's shot and killed. They then coldly tell the grieving new widow to be off the land by nightfall. They nail a notice to the door. Property of Maria de la Cuesta. The Cartwrights are close by and hear the shots as the credits roll. Mrs. Logan, clearly and understandably in shock, flatly repeats what she was told to the Cartwrights, prompting Joe to straight up assume it was the work of one Don Antonio, based on hearing that they called her Senora. Ben predicts that the law is going to be on the side of the killers, but he and Adam head for the sheriff's office anyway. Already sitting with said sheriff when they arrive is a large man who looks like he was born with a cigar in his hand, Senor Luga. After some verbal sparring, Ben delivers one of the best lines of the episode. He said that this is lawlessness backed up by law, because these homesteaders who have built on and worked the land are being kicked off of it just because of an old land grant. A land grant that happens to include a couple 100 acres of Ponderosa land. Senor Luga, as Maria's uncle, naturally represents her interests. Speaking of Great Lady Longname, she's entertaining the man who did the killing in her name earlier in her hotel suite. Luga pops in without knocking and breaks up the romantic mood before implying his sweet niece is a lady of ill repute. She slaps him, and we like to see it. She then whines that this fancy hotel suite is like a prison for her. Not a good look, great lady. Back on the ranch, Ben's in his cozy little nook sitting at his desk. The boys are gathered around him trying to find solutions. The records for the land grant are kept in Monterey, so Hoss and Joe head to New Mexico, and Don Juan Cartwright heads to seduce or talk to the great lady in question. On a side note, Melissa from the Yeehaw Bonanza podcast just dropped a video covering this episode while I'm writing this script. Are you okay over there, Melty? Did the Adam seduction do you in yet? Please check in and let us know you're good. Oh, who are we kidding? None of us Adam gals are all right after watching this one. Okay, editing Bonanza babe here. So Melty noticed, like me, the Anastasia parallels, so there's definitely something to that theory. The only thing those boys didn't do is sing about how Spain holds the keys to her heart. If you know, you know. Okay, back to the show. Adam does that lean thing that he does when charmingly asking the hotel clerk what room she's in, and the man spills after little resistance, much like the rest of us would in that situation. Hey, you, just stop it. Just stop that. Stand up straight and don't do that thing with your face. Or your body. You're just not being fair to anybody right now, boy. Right when he gets up the stairs, she's leaving, so he follows her to a cantina, where he watches as she joins in on the dance being performed. Pettycake de la Cuesta immediately gets harassed by one of the other men who was watching the dance, and he seems to know her as Rosita. She denies that she was ever called by that name, and Adam steps in to defend her honor, like you Cartwrights do. She immediately warms up to him, presumably because she made that fatal mistake of looking into the eyes of the hazel-eyed heartthrob and asks him to walk her home. Sanchez rats her out to Luga as she invites Adam into her room for a glass of wine. They do some verbal back and forth and debate whether or not sweat or a deed equals ownership. Adam says it's both. Kind of puts a damper on things, though, when one person has one and another has the other. The grand lady ends the debate, though, abruptly by acting like she's going to kiss him before pulling away at the last second and kicking him out of the room. She thinks she's got the upper hand here, but Adam knows what he's doing. Another episode will mirror this exact song and dance later in the series. Any guesses as to which? Uncle Luga curiously seems to come in right after Adam leaves, and he knew Adam left. Then he tells her he knew Adam left. She assures him that she's got Adam right where she wants him. She knows how to handle men, after all. Again, who does she remind you of? Lucas seems confident in her abilities, and they agree that having even one of the Cartwrights on their side might just benefit their cause. I have to ask, though, do you really think that seducing a Cartwright will make said Cartwright any more understanding about you taking a big chunk of his land away? Or do you just plan on marrying him and getting the whole thing? Hey, that would have been a good idea. At the briefing, 007 sugars his coffee and assures Ben that he's got the girl eating right out of his hand. Ben seems proud of his son's talent in charming any woman at any time, until he starts to think maybe she's charming him a little too. He doesn't say it yet, but he gives Adam a little look. I see what you see, Pa. I thought he drank his coffee black too. That's weird. The Prince of the Ponderosa and the heiress of De La Cuesta go riding, and she whines a little about having to be carried from one place to another by a horse. Imagine how the horse feels. Adam is intentionally taking her to the Logan place, the land belonging to that couple from earlier, where he explains to her what happened to them. She looks upset to know that someone was killed and a child will now be born without a father because of Luga and his men, and all in her name. They do a little more romantic sparring where he goes in to kiss her, and she returns it this time. Let's be honest, we all see that she's gone on him at this point, right? Right? The trouble is that he might be a little gone on her too. The question now becomes, who is playing whom? She seems to have no idea that people actually die in pursuit of her claim, and we immediately cut to people dying in pursuit of her claim, as Sanchez clears out more of her holdings for her. He gives Luga a report in his hotel room, where the man Adam saved Isabella from earlier comes a-knockin'. He blackmails Luga, and the wannabe Baron pays up jovially before ordering Sanchez to deal with the problem. Ben and Hop Sing are cleaning their guns for a fight when Adam returns from his date, or a secret agent meeting, whatever. He assures Ben that the guns might no longer be necessary, and Ben lacks proper convincing when High Card Smith arrives for another round of blackmail. For scenes that move as fast as this, Sanchez sure didn't move fast enough in killing the guy. Hey, I know all of your killing experience is in innocent settlers, but maybe kill the blackmailer before he blows up your plot. For example, he gives Ben and Adam the information that Isabella is really Rosita Morales, and that her real father is still running a store somewhere in Frisco. Adam doesn't seem too happy with the truth, even though it's exactly what they were hoping for. Ben, who until now has been donning a black shirt, finally decides to change into something we've seen him in before, and they head out to tell Luga what they've just learned. On the way there, they find their informant dead. Dude must have been offed right after he left the house. Again, Don Antonio, you kill the guy before he gives away your secrets, man. And, hey, Ben, maybe stop worrying about your shirt. Lives are at stake. High-stake lives. Never mind. He's already back at Rosita Bella's room and playing rough with her. Ben and Adam rush in and Sanchez leaves. Ben ignores how she seems to care what Adam thinks, and he makes her cry until Adam tells him to stop. They leave, and she sobs. The story they manage to get out of her before they leave is that this Pedro Morales is not her father, but rather bought her from some Indians who killed her real family. Makes total sense. Luga again comes in on cue and tells her that the Cartwrights have an unfortunate effect on people. Like maybe make them use their conscience? Just ask Amanda Ridley from the last episode. Ben sends Adam to find Pedro Morales, but in the livery stable, Sanchez ambushes him and claims that he was sent by Isabella to kill him. Adam seems personally offended by the idea that she'd want him dead. They fight, and Adam uses those strong glutes of his to pull Sanchez off of him by his neck and throws him into the stall where the horse takes care of it for him. He didn't kill the man, Sheriff, honest. 'Twas the horse who dealt the final blow. As Adam takes off, they recycle some of that stock footage of him riding that they used several times, which I totally understand. It does look great. Adam finds Morales drunk and looking to get more so, and pays him to tell him the truth of Isabella's identity. Turns out Luga paid for his silence, but 5 years back, a woman also came looking for her long-lost grandniece. Adam knows what he has to do now. At home, Ben is met by the judge telling him that he can no longer delay the hearing to determine whether she has a right to keep taking the land away from these people. Hey, wait a minute. There's a hearing? Then why in the name of Hop Sing Sunday Chicken are they getting to kill the settlers before the hearing? Gah! Luga finds Isabella drunk in the cantina again, and she starts squeaking when she talks. It's pretty dang funny. That is until he accuses her of being in love with Adam. That's less funny. So what if I have fallen in love with him? All these other crazy girls on the internet will years from now. And Luga says, "What are you talking about? What's the internet?" And she says, "Oh, sorry. That wine is stronger than I thought." Just at the moment before the judge says they can't delay another minute, Hoss and Joe return to tell Ben that the land grant is solid as a rock. It seems all hope is lost when Adam arrives with a guest. Donna Teresa Esperanza, the great aunt of the real Isabella de la Cuesta. She tells the judge that Luga tried to enlist her help in the scheme, and Luga is arrested. The two women speak privately to see if Donna Teresa can identify her definitively, and she imparts some words of wisdom. The defining characteristic of the de la Cuestas is generosity. This is all Rosita needs to know. She withdraws her claim. Without much care for this love she once thought she had for Adam, she walks right by him and says she's going home. Donna Teresa admits that she has no idea whether this girl is the true heiress or not, and in fact, it doesn't matter. Purnell really gets to shine in this one. So far, they've banked on Joe having all the sex appeal in the family, but this one lets us see that Adam taught him a thing or two. We don't get much of Hoss and Joe in this one, but we do get to see Ben and Adam interact, and that's always great. We don't get enough of that, just like we don't get enough of Adam and Joe in the series. Little scenes like this one here depict a relationship where Ben relies on Adam's intelligence and strength to hold things together. But sadly, along with that comes perhaps a lack of notice when Adam might need a little of that in return. Ben noticed more than once that Adam might be falling for this girl, and I wish he'd had a moment where he talked to Adam about it. Yes, the issue at hand was important, but Adam's feelings are too. We get a little look from Joe as Rosita is walking away, like he feels some compassion for what his brother might be feeling, and he wasn't even there for a majority of the episode. So they could have done it with Ben. Hoss mixes up the word perpetuity when they get back from looking into the land grant, and Joe helps him with it, which is adorable. There's this old commercial about it on the show from back in the day when TV Land did just these old shows and not any of the sitcom stuff that they do now. And they use this clip. What was that word, little Joe? Joe answers him without making fun of him, which was a good call for this particular scene. Also, I wish somebody, if you're listening and have access to these old TV Land commercials with Bonanza on them, please upload those because they're fantastic. And right now, I kind of feel like I may be the only person that remembers they exist, and people might think that this is just a fever dream of mine, but they did, and they're cute. The main reason for the Anastasia parallels in my mind, besides the plot itself, was the casting. Just swap out the characters as Spanish and not Russian. Luga could pass for Vlad, and Don Antonio could be a stand-in for Dimitri before he turns good. Of course, Adam can also be a stand-in for Dimitri with the good looks and flirtatious adventurous side. Donna Teresa is absolutely a perfect parallel for Anastasia's grandmother. Alas, there's no one to play the talking bat, except maybe High Card Smith, maybe. I'll leave Rasputin up to your imagination. Patricia Medina is perfect as Isabella/Rosita. She has enough beauty and fiery rebelliousness, and she matches well to Adam, at least for this one episode. Sebastian Cabot just has the look of a scheming land grabber, so I really enjoyed his casting as Luga. Mike Regan as High Card Smith is a guest star several times in the show and does really well with what he's given. Paul Picerni as Sanchez does well as the henchman and jealous lover or rival against Adam. I really enjoy this one. Shocking for an Adam gal, I know. But he's just perfect here, and I can totally understand why Rosita fell for him. Again, there are some things I wish would have been added or expanded on, but other than that, I often go to this one as one of my favorite season 1 episodes. I'm curious to hear what you think, especially if you're not an Adam gal.